All right. All right. Here I am in the domicile. So this is dating myself. You see that? That is hundreds. I forget exactly. It's the Clifford Ball, a fish festival. That is people. You see that? So, again, now we're taking off for granted with the phones everywhere. But the fact that I had this kind of foresight pales in comparison to what I just experienced for the last 10 days. Uh, I forgot I had this, of course, as any epileptic knows, memory's gone, but I found it, and I have no idea what I'm about to say here, but I just had one of the most life-changing experiences of my life, so it seemed like a good place. All right, so being in the hospital for 10 days by myself. Look at this. All right, straight for the subject. Yeah, so basically the point is after you had people stick electrodes into your brain on purpose and make them disintegrate, as you saw on day whatever it was. Uh, I feel like I could read every one of those people's minds in this picture. I could tell you every one of those people's thoughts. Uh, it was wild. It was unbelievable. Um, I feel great now. I'm interested to know why I feel so good, right? Clearly, I mean, I'm pumped up with some heavy drugs. Uh, have been for 10 days, but on the better side, I've been detoxed from however many years all these fucking shitty psychoactive drugs. Anyone that knows me can tell you I've changed as any epileptic. Paid for that. It's a cop out, but you change. You are different people depending on the drug. And of course, drug makers, what do they care? It's a product to them, right? So they'll sell you this drug and they call it whatever. And you're like, yeah, dude, that one kind of. I mean, they're all real drugs, obviously in names, but I try to think in the abstract more because when you go to these forums and stuff, even on the FB, a lot of people are just asking about straight up drugs, and I don't think that's. I mean, clearly that's part of it, but I don't like to think it's just that. Like, oh man, this drug. Everyone knows there's some names that are horrible. This one, you tell your doctor, like, yeah, that one makes me pretty suicidal. Like, oh, okay, we'll try this one. Like, actually, yeah, that one's not as suicidal, but I have no desire to do anything. I mean, yeah, I'm alive, but I don't really do anything, and I used to. Okay, three. Now, I guess like any doctor, at least mine, uh, they don't really try four, five, six, whatever. Yeah. So if your seizures being controlled, that's their goal. If their seizures are being controlled and there's obvious behavioral differences and side effects, they just try another one, and that's all based on reviews. I mean, they have their own, and then we all have our own. Some people are like, I don't care, dude, my shit. I don't have that many. Uh, I just met a fantastic human being, kick-ass guitar player. You'll meet him soon. Who has had hundreds. Like I had two a year, so to speak. He had hundreds, and has that thing ripped out, and put into his cut out and put in, so he can control it with an electrode. Wait till you meet this dude. It's intense. So yeah, yeah. So what was I saying? Shit, drugs. Yeah, yeah. So the third one, if you're like, yeah, again, I'm not as suicidal. I have a little more desire, and you're not having as many seizures, then they don't really. Four or five options isn't really there. But if you're still having the seizures, and the behavior is one thing, that's where it gets crazy. So That's what I'm currently on. I'm on my fourth. The third one that I just got off was the worst one, period. First of all, it was a new doctor switch, which is nothing to, no slight. Uh, a doctor switch, and they suggested something and switched it, and I still had some, so then they increased it. So not only was it changed, and this is the one that had my desire gone. Like I used to like to cook, now it's, and again, not excuses, but cooking is what levels and steps. So when you cook, you have to be prepared to do multiple things. And then it was pretty much a slow cooker. It was a slow cooker, air fryer, slow cooker, air fryer. And I didn't like it. And then I had them, and all she did was increase it. So I became even more slow cooker. Uh, then my older doctor, I mean, I don't want to again make it sound like a contest, but uh, they suggested a fourth one, and I'm like, yeah, fuck, Christ, if I can try 1,000, I mean, I'm a recreational drug user and used to, I'm not minding that. So I guess that's when you realize it's this weird. It is. I mean, it's trillions of dollar companies and just power struggles. And it's other stuff sometimes, possibly. It seems pretty pure. So yeah, so I changed it. So yeah, so the fourth one was only a week ago. Um, Luckily, I mean, by the grace of uh, Les Claypool, I guess that I have insurance for this at the moment. Like, this is not cheap stuff. Okay, so uh, yeah, man. So blah, 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 blah. I don't know why I said Les Claypool now, but I lost myself. Uh, uh, Claypool Brown. I don't know. So either way, yeah. So you see the humanity of doctors want to be right, this and that, the other thing. They're all trying to help you, but again, if you're an old cynic like myself, you're like, well, there's really technically no incentive for anybody to fix anybody because it's $1 billion, $1 trillion, and I mean, no doctor really wants you to healed, do they? What are they gonna do? So yeah, I digress. Yeah, so all right, so yeah, so it's only been a week, and luckily I got this thing scheduled in. So I've been detoxed for 10 days off of the worst of the three drugs. I've had, seizures for at least count now. It feels like 8 years, but I think it's six technically, a lot. So I have had a significant portion of my life changed by one, having random electricity throwing your entire brain into chaos, which relates to your body into chaos, right? Yeah, But again, I've seen people fish out on nitrous a lot, so it's. I never seen myself have a seizure until once it was filmed, but uh, it's not when you see someone freaking out, it's not that big of a deal. So, uh, and do not be mad. I love you all. This is clearly me being insane. Yeah. So the actual ramifications of what happens to your brain. Look at that. Oh my God. Wow. Yeah. So um, the the actual things that happen to your brain after something like that. I've gotten lucky. I mean, when I've gone to uh, support groups in the city of Philadelphia, very good, very good. You hear, I mean, first of all, they're unbelievable. The war stories, people shattering the clavicles, and just, my God, you walk in, there's like a little, I forget her name, some adorable, like 55-year-old woman. She was like 90% titanium just from everything being shattered from just falling and going down hard. Those are amazing. But the psychological part, damn, I lost my thought. bring it back. Yeah, so seeing people have, Phish Aug. Oh yeah, so what actually happens, what tattoos my brain after permanently, uh, so going to these support groups, people have had way more lasting damage. Now, I'm not trying to sound like a crazy maniac of ego sophistication. I am not damaged at all. That is a ridiculous statement. But I like to think I handle it with humor enough to not want to uh, fill in that blank. It's some wild ass stuff. So either way, right? So you get good people around you. You do what you can. You go to a support group and you just hear you can't complain about anything ever again. You know what I mean? Like it's intense, uh, and some don't handle it as well because it's just the whole world is just so random. Again, you're walking all of a sudden, oh whoa, nitrous, you know what you're doing, you're laughing. I use that analogy, but extrapolated it to anything. But when you have no control over your brain and it turns into physical, just intensity for other people to see. One, the stigma, it hurts, when you wake up and you're beat up, but what people must see you like when you look like this, uh, going down in Center City, I'm pretty sure they thought I was on some heavy stuff. I'm gonna go on a limb and say they probably thought it was whacked out. But I talked about him before. This guy looked like Dr. Katz, most amazing human being, whoever he was. If I could make any mission of YouTube, it'd be to find this man. I went down to Center City, Philadelphia, right? I hit a pole into oncoming traffic and sent me back onto the street. Wow, right? And every time I woke up, there was this, remember Dr. Katz, that cartoon? There was this dude that looked like Dr. Katz, and there'd be some other people behind him sometimes, but every time, um, coming out of a seizure, you probably have about like 8 or 9 times until you are actually in here, this reality, right? And of all the 9 times, Dr. Katz was constant, and I remember a couple people behind. So if I could ever find that guy, wow, I don't know who he was, but somebody does, because he's stood with me as a stranger in the street while they were contacting my wife. However, it worked out. Because you always just wake up in the hospital in these things. So you wake up. Other than that little part, I'm seeing Dr. Katz. The next time I woke up was in the hospital, where then you hear all these stories. My wife's there, and people are like, "Yeah, dude, you almost went into head-coming traffic in Center City, Philadelphia, at like 15th and Chestnut or something. Like, hit a pole." So when you, right? I didn't put that together. I'm making this up. So, uh, all right. So imagine I'm going toward that. That's not that wide, right? So somehow I hit that. Don't hit any cars, and it plummets me back onto the sidewalk on my back. I don't know what people call luck. I don't know what people call anything. I mean, I'm gonna guess there was probably some, like, as I'm tweaking out, I'm like, dude, if I would like, I'm gonna toot my own horn here. If I was like, I would like to think in my head would be like, dude, can you get in that pole instead, like, kind of, instead of just being, that would be cool. I'm gonna say that's what happened. And now we're digressing real hardcore. All right, yeah. So yeah, so I'm liking this picture because I was just in the hospital for 10 days by myself. With a lot of strange thoughts, to say the least. Now, uh, this hospital's moving. By the end, October 30th, they have this like this $1 billion thing that's right across the street. University of Pennsylvania Hospital, the neuro ward. Like, so it's all, like on paper, it kind of sounds cool, right? But there's no double beds, so it's all single beds. Uh, Actually, wow, now I'm thinking about it, this actually kinda sounds creepy. So right now, there's camaraderie. I mean, these are some of the most intense nurses and staff and everything, because you you get woken up every 4 hours for just your vitals. I wake up, blood pressure, thing, boom. And then, like, 2 hours. I mean, it's very staggering. You're we got some intense cases, right? So right now there's like, communal areas like you would think. Like when you think of any nursing area, it's desks, multiple people, and then your spots. And then your single rooms and double rooms, somewhat closed, not that elaborate. Well, by the end of this, no one's looking forward to it because now it's too technological. I mean, again, if you watch my videos, they can make big people disappear in front of me by turning knobs because they're attached to my head. You can imagine what this new place is going to be like, right? Now, they wasted a lot of money because everyone said they have these. I mean, now think about it. I'm lucky being an artist, I guess, and being young. But I mean, there's someone on the neuro. Wow, you know what word? Neuro ward. Jesus, does anyone know what it sounds? Neuro ward? That might be drugs. It's been there for 2 years, right? So, like, and when you hear that, you're like, "Wow, man, yeah, I guess they probably do have some just, like, catatonic people that like, I was there for 10 days, but there's probably people that can't leave or cannot leave for long, or who knows when you're dealing with such chaos and randomness of epilepsy." So, these nurses are dreading. So, first of all, they all are scared, not scared, but, someone brought up a great point. I don't wanna bring his name up, but he knows who he is. That it's really, I mean, it's just spread out. Everybody's got their own room, and they have these giant TVs, right? Now, being a neuro ward, uh, this young, smart kid's like, I mean, dude, there's just gonna be more falls. And as soon as you say it was just such a Spock logic, like not complaining it has to do extra work or anything. It was just such laser foresight. You're like, yeah, dude, everything is just spread out. It's like freaking Texas, I guess, apparently. Like, again, like I was saying before, it's made more sense what it was. And it's not like it's run down. It's the University of fucking Penn. It is, and I'm not trying to bash anybody here. Please do not read this at that. Um, Again, uh, so this new place, they're just all like, yeah, it's really spread out. The technology is so good that there's no real communal station. There's just like two like pods, and like when you go in, you're like automatically scanned. Uh, Everyone has their own iPhone things. I'm not sure if it's actually proper iPhone, but um, you're like, I don't know. It seems way more like, hey, these people are good money, man. Maybe they just sit there and rake in cash, and they are fucked. It's kind of how it sounds sometimes. Uh, when I was thinking it on my own, just sitting there, I'm like, I mean, man, not that anyone said anything like that, but I'm saying, my mind's a little more sick than them. I'm like, man, I'm like, that's a good point. Like when they were describing these TVs, it's just a 75 fucking inch flat panel. It's just a third of the room in front of them, and the rooms are bigger now and nicer. So they're like, it feels more like giving up apartment, like maybe, you know. It's a very um, definitely on some of them is true. Like this person is somehow still alive. They can't walk. Again, what do we do? So I don't want to get too far. I'm going far at all. Yeah, 19 minutes. All right. Yeah. So the change sounds amazing. It's just the fact that I was there, like to see the change, because that's where I'll be after my actual shit. So to see the change is going to be amazing. Um, but the space and how far out and like the newer it just sounds like it's more, give them more space, and it's like two birds of the same stone, right? Like some people are like, oh yeah, because people have more money, like, oh man, they don't want to just sitting in this cramped guinea pig box. Like it sounds nice to them, if you're in a corporate suit or a nurse, And it also can sound shitty as a corporate suit or a nurse, but more is the nurse part where you're like, man, dude, we're just going to be like languishing ourselves in these two-person pods, not like your little nurse hub thing, the social desk, like the little fucking brain. They're cutting out the brain of the Brain Institute. So all these people just like apparently like as soon as they go in, there's this thing like that part of that screen I'm talking about, like scans you immediately, and it's like you're just always, always, always being pinged and tagged in real life, which sounded like, of course, this is don't know, but it sounded like it actually makes a thing. Like they don't just leave that to you, like waiting for a text message. And then when every once in a while, when they left their little cell phone thing in my room, it does do that. It's just like bing, 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 white, and you look it up and it says you left your phone. Like any little, I can't explain it right, but it looks like it's going to be for something that needs so much tenderness and love, when you're just sitting there all day just trying to keep yourself entertained in a bed and you have no imagination, or if you do, whatever it is, it's not easy. So the nurses, these particular ones, I'm assuming to be in that type of field, you have to be a very intense person. They are intense people, beautifully intense. It ain't any other kind of ward. It's a certain ward, 100%. So to have it, again, from the suit and the live and the vision, the guy who's drawing it, the guy I love drawing it, whoever drew these things out, it's gorgeous. And again, these big rooms, and they're like, oh, well, they're just fucking, they can't do anything. Just stick them in the corner, give them a big TV. You can see it, how it could be looked at completely gross and negative and chicken card box, or, well, it'd be nice, like try to make it as nice as you can. Now that's where the screen comes in. Being an artist, we got to figure out how to entertain these screens. People are gonna go crazy, dude. It's being so spread out, and the morale of all the nurses are at the moment low. They have to move it. They have to move on Halloween weekend. Like, it's a shame. So where are we going? Can we pull this into something? Let's pull this into something. We're gonna make this. How about we go for a goal? 30 minutes. All right. So yeah, so they're all beautiful people. They're on edge because they're moving into a really nice new facility, but it's a lot of waste of money. Again, it looks great. You can see how they bought it on paper. There's somebody like me that drew it. It's like, dude, because it follows the old curves. Just look it up. It's beautiful, and the cafeteria is amazing. Everyone says. I mean, University of Penn's they're no joke. This isn't a. All right, I'm a little loopy. They don't spare anything. Let's put it that way. So let's hope they don't. Let's hope they remember what the ward is and how important the nurses are, because you would be down on yourself. So again, this is the best I ever felt. It could be the opioids because of these things. It could be I think it's mostly being detoxed from. First of all, this is the longest I've gone without seizure drugs in 6 years. And then, like I was saying before, the 3 changes. The most recent change, 4 changes. The most recent change was the little change that was only a week, but the one before that that asked me, that requested me and made me, by being a piece of shit, asked for a new drug change, right? That one, that third one. I think why I feel so good is because this is the longest I detox from that drug. And like I was saying before, I don't want to just name that drug, because drug bashing doesn't help you do this stuff and try to feel better. You just be like, I just want to do the drug, new drug, new drug, new drug. Here we lose, baby. Ow. So you can't, you can't do that. Or else that's all you'll do. But if you don't try to like still change and be better and recognize life and do other stuff, you'll get eaten alive. It's just the animal. It's the way it is. So staying positive is hard. relationships are hard. A lot of things are hard, but this is the best I felt in probably my life. And again, I don't know if it's just being on to drugs. The other drugs that have been on for a week, again, I'm not a Oxycontin person and shit, but they got me on the Oxy stuff. As you can see why, and again, living near Kensington, I know what the other side looks like. I mean, if this is how it starts, you could see. Uh, and then all of a sudden you're like, wow, yeah, nah, dude, can I get that other stuff again? I gotta think about something that looks like that because I live on the street in Kensington because my brain is this. But it comes out like this. So now I live on the street and look for heroin, and we all know that it's the ease of laziness, right? Like, I've had people in my life grow up and a generation before, whatever. We all know the spike is way more intense. So you have to be a certain type of person, and it's just a whole different ballgame. It's being paid pop, gee, and then all of a sudden you can't get it anymore, and then you live in what we're talking about here, right? So that is what I'm on. So I got to be really careful here. Uh, but it's not the pain like these guys. So I feel good as far as clarity. Now, again, could be just from sticking on my brain and just like, oh man, did they just go under the hood and like just by them doing a test, did they just fix it? And now I feel much better. We'll find out if I have a seizure. Uh, or just the hope that in a month I'm having surgery done. And it's these kinds. Again, this is 15 laser holes in my head. And I have my hair. I mean, I'm gonna find it out who did that. That's karma, by the way. That is the definition of karma. Like, yes. Holy God, I am a dork. That is awesome. I deserve it. I'll take that one. So yeah, so the fact that I have any of this hair is wow, right? Um, and apparently, this is 15 holes. This test, it sounds less because now they really have a goddamn good map. They have literally a high res, like, yeah, before it was all, on the outside of your brain, it's fuzzy. Uh, we just zoomed in, and guess what? We're like, yeah, dude, it's like there. All right, cool, man, we got it. Before they were like, so, I mean, it's Dr. Chen. We could say his name right. Oh, please do not get mad at me. He's an amazing human being. Uh, so I hope I'm not saying anything bad about anybody, not legal, great people. Yeah, so where it is, it looks like this is going to be even less invasive surgery. But unlike just putting a camera on my brain, they're taking a piece of my brain out. It's the first time I said that out loud. That's you think that's bad? All right, yeah. So let's go through it. Let's see. What do we got up here? There she is. Look at that. Yeah. So that's like 3, probably. So yeah, they left the sutures long. Let's go professional here. So I mean, I guess you can't really see whatever, but I mean, you get the idea. They just try to show you, see that they're really amazing at comedy. They're like, yeah, well, we left the sutures extra long for you, so they stick throughout past your hair so you can find it. Uh, that's adorable. So yeah. So that's it. Yeah. So 15, no, 13 holes, 2 holes. I mean, you get it, right? Oh, really? That's pretty good. So that's so for the rest of my life, I will be 15 minutes, 15 seconds overdue. But that was a bad time. I said 30, but again, I haven't been home in 10 days. I'm gonna keep talking. Uh, so for the rest of my life, I get to think about jokes and have jokes told to me. Feel free, anybody. About having literally holes in my head. So that's cool. It's positive. It's all you can do is look for positives. That's all you can do. So with these giant screens, we gotta fucking get people to not just turn the channel for watching crap. Because you could again, a screens are the most devilish things there is. If we don't make it positive or something, it's just gonna be commercials. I mean, think about that, right? So, all right. We got to get back to a point. Back to a point. So, meditation. I don't even know what the hell happened, but this is the best I ever felt. So, again, it could be detox, could be foresight and clarity and uh, certain things. But then there's certain negative things that have been going on that I don't want to distract from. The Now the goal, and I have to, is keep this positivity. Again, this could be as soon as his drugs were off, like, holy shit, fuck everyone. I hope the world, like my usual, unfortunately, my usual self. No, I wouldn't say usual, but I'm not a positive person. Uh, so let's hope. Not, it's not a hope. It's not a hope. I have someone that can do it. My buddy Johnny, Johnny G, one of the most amazing human beings on face of the planet. Blah, 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 blah. Huge, big, scary. I mean, if you see him, you're scared. You're equally scared of him as anything you've ever seen in your life, right? But he's got the biggest heart in the world. But he's a goofball. So he takes uh, he's a ringside, like an amateur ringside wrestler photographer, and they love him because again he's big. I don't know, for something his size helps him in that way for that purpose. Like even though he takes up most of every part, everything around it, they kind of like do it for him almost just because he makes everyone look amazing. He's got a great visual eye, and uh, he's like free bodyguard. He's like a free bodyguard. When bodyguards are so intense and so scary that nobody does anything. That's him, and he's just taking pictures though. So either way, he recently had I think he said 15-minute out of body experience, like the real one from meditating, watching himself, and to see this, he's 300 and some pounds. So for him to feel weightless above himself, thank God, that must be cool. That is exactly probably what uh like I feel like that's what I mean when I was saying like the dudes disappeared when they were doing all the stuff. I wasn't metaphysical and all, but the clarity you get from something like that, right? That we all found out people thought was LSD in the 60s. There's been many hundreds of versions of it throughout history. Uh, right? I'm gonna drill a skull in my head. I keep saying skull every time I say hole. You notice that? It's like the fifth time in this little adventure here. Yeah, right? What was that? Aztecs? Put the hole in your head and I get it now, though. What do you think that is right there? So that's where I'm gonna be sleeping tonight. That light. Uh, I still have to figure out how to get in there, but I don't think it's too hard. At least I can see it. So yeah, the so Johnny's out of life experience, out of life. However, you know how people phrase it, but it wasn't like because it was religious. However, he did it. He's smart enough not to be like, I did it with this one kind, and then just like annoy you about that one kind. He knows it's a tapestry. You take a little of this one, a little of that one. Like everyone understands calm is good. Everyone knows a straight line is good, but we like bubblies too. I mean, there's certain Spock logics of life, and people get too caught up on specifics because, like I said, they all want to be right. But if you just do it as the most general, nebulous, with I guess the point is, the best outcome, you would think, in the most fun way. And fun is your own way. His way was fun because he's like, dude, I'm 400 pounds and I feel weightless above myself and all this. And to know how intense of a life and how much he works at it is is yeah. I hope I'm not embarrassing you, dude. Sorry, dude. We'll switch it up. But yeah, that's what I feel like right now. Like, and again, I'm not gonna go with just drugs. And if it is drugs, great, because then I'll learn and be like, oh man, wow, that's a lot more work. I'm hoping it's just that they just hit the button and I'll be like this forever, much more positive. Um, but clearly, it's going to be a combination, right? But again, again, I have something to work on, so that's cool. Now the harder part, money. Yikes. Yeah, I know. So the last real job I had, I got fired because I don't have a license. But they didn't ask me that, so my charm took over, right? It was an art auction house. Went in. He never asked me if I drove or had a license, so I got the job. And there was a lot of like part-time people, but I was the second full-time guy, so I was going to be the guys in the truck. Like, uh, I would be driving out more than just switching out the auction house, right? We would be going delivering these furniture and shit after people buy them, I guess. So whatever, so you go through, you start at the bottom, you go through, learn it all, blah, blah. And then like the third month, he goes to give me the keys to the truck. And I'm like, yeah, dude, I can't drive. He's like, what do you mean? I'm like, well, legally, I can't drive. He didn't know anything about my seizures, right? Boom. Now, I didn't withhold it. He didn't ask. So that's a whole nother bracket of the world that I don't know what people think about. How do epileptics work, right? So, part of me just ignores the fact that I have seizures, right? I have 2 a year. They're intense, but I can't just sit around and not do anything and wait for a seizure, right? Like I was saying before, some people have hundreds a week. Can they do? Some people have 100 a month. So yeah. So either way. So I'm like, well, he's like, well, shit, dude, that's part of the job. I'm like, well, it's not my fault that I charged you and you didn't get to it because it was hilarious. We had a great time. That's why I got hired and immediately got into the truck. Again, not blowing my horn. It was not an easy job. It was, I don't want to say the name, but it was in a giant auction house. You're like, oh, nice. You think painting? Dude, there was like this one auction house was just like Dutch wood furniture, giant oak bookcases. Like, this is all you did. You're like, oh my God. And since we're in Philadelphia and it's all old kind of stuff out in the burbs, the old Swedish stuff and all, it's not that, it's still special, don't get me wrong, but you can get some unbelievable deals. And it is just like, oh, this tree doesn't exist anymore because it was so, the white pine and all. They underestimated how fast it regrew, so they cut it all down before it got a chance to regrow. And it's just this heavy ass furniture, gorgeous shit, because it was soft enough to mold, not mold, carve. Uh, Either way, yeah. So there's times where we were like, me and this dude, and I am not strong. I'm just tall, so that helps. But wow, dude. I mean, these houses in McMalver. I mean, holy shit, like 200. Like the first rich people in Philadelphia that moved out to the suburbs, that stuff. Oh my lord, those houses out there, insane, and no one even knows they're there, pretty much, because that's the way they like it. Uh, and these crazy old, like the glass where it's not perfect, and just old wood, everything, and just these giant Dutch cabinets, and these just giant. Oh my god, I can't even say them now that I'm thinking about them. These wood wardrobes, like just unbelievable stuff, super heavy. Whatever, I digress. Uh, yeah, so think about that. Say some dude buys a $12,000. I'm where's my camera? I'm not lying. Oh God, it was so gorgeous. And again, this is a full, huge. This isn't like a pawn shop. This is a fucking auction, massive, hundreds of pieces. This thing was so ornate and just dark wood chestnut. I don't know what the fuck it was. I'm not even sure what it was. It was just like someone showing off. And like, oh, and again, it just has a cubby hole. Like you can obviously use it for storage, but it wasn't a thing. It wasn't like a desk per se or a cutting board thing per se. It was just fucking magnificent. It was the coolest thing I've ever seen. Thanks for that memory. That was cool. Either way, so before I got fired, I had to like move that stuff. And it was like, all right, yeah, this is art, I guess. But Jesus Christ, I'm thinking when you think of auction, you think of painting, 20 pounds, yay! Whew. Yeah. So yeah, so I got fired. Now, imagine the $12,000 dude. Again, you get a job. What do you digress? They don't ask me if I have seizures. I don't tell them I have seizures. Am I withholding? That's a scary, scary thing. And again, luckily, again, like I'm an idiot, I ignore most of it enough where I didn't say anything, but I wasn't thinking about it. I wasn't trying to be deceitful. Now, what the fuck would have happened if I went down with a $12,000 wood oak thing to some old colonial, like pretty much a museum that Ben Franklin slept in and like took out like some original glass panel and shit. Like that was a complete 100% possibility. And was that he did, right? That's a lot of stress just to like try to live your life and ignore that. That I need to work. I, I mean, however you can get jobs, right? So that was intense. So getting fired was actually a relief for that one. Poor Jim. Sorry, Jim. Dude. He didn't know. He didn't know. He was an adorable older man, and he just didn't ask. And I didn't know. I didn't know it was supposed to reveal that I can't drive legal or medically. Legally, I don't know if I actually had to say medically. I just said legally. And I oh well, that really sucks because you can't do anything else with you. So I left. Um, Which brings us back again to how what you tell people, how you get jobs, whatever. So money, yeah, I need money, man. This is gonna be hard. I don't know what. All right, no, I'm not gonna change that subject, but you get it. You can understand how it's tough. Now, yeah, shit. I don't want to think about that. What do we got? 42. What do we go? What do we go? So all right, so yeah, existential. This is the best I ever felt as far as except for right there because I thought about money. So that I know that's coming. That's the rest of my life, right? So today, please bear with me. I smile. Uh, yeah, all right. No, I guess that is it. Yeah. So thanks everybody. Who the fuck? I don't mean to curse. I'm sorry, but it was the wildest ride in the world. Look at that, right? Now this picture just means there was a time where I was hanging out with that many people for any amount of time to watch one band. I know people make fun of Phish, obviously. I don't obviously I don't even know what that means, uh, but no one gives them credit. You're like, dude, you know how many thousands of bands there are, right? Like my mom knows who Phish is. Like people know who Phish is. Like that alone is a fucking credit. Uh, and we just got lucky in college. Like we found him a freshman in high school or a freshman in college. Dude, these two dudes. Should we go into the Phish story? Stutzman and Ollie, wherever you are. Two guys from Vermont come down. This poor bastard Vince has gone to both grade school, high school, and college with me. He was their roommate, or he was on the soccer team with one of them. Or I'm sorry, all three were on the soccer team. They were like, dude, you guys should come see this band Phish in Lehigh. We went. It's just we were at a small college. This was a bigger college next door. I guess they've seen them because they were from Vermont. Phish and these two dudes. So we got lucky as I was with hitting that damn pole. Holy Christ! I got to see Phish just freshman in college by luck of the draw. 2.5 hours of just you're like, wow. Like, all right, like people weren't kidding about college, huh? I didn't know. I mean, I loved the Animal House and stuff, but it was it was quite the college experience, which did turn into this. So I mean, it's just amazing, dude. I mean, yeah. So that sums up a good amount. That uh, that I don't really like the screens. I guess is the point. Uh, these poor people are going to be staring at commercials. Not these people, but these people that I'm talking about in this ward now. Um, so looking at this picture, and just realizing no cell phones, right? You're just walking around, just bumping into like-minded people for one band. That was one festival, 3 days. You just, again, we went whenever freshman in college was, and when I did, I think that was the first one, yeah. Like, hey, apparently they're having some festival up in the north. We're obviously going. We're getting a tent, and you show up, and there's uh, just that. That is unbelievable. Come on, give him some credit. You can make fun of him all you want. Uh, and again, I got lucky because I grew up in a Grateful Dead household, so I was like way already. Not comparing them. Do not bust my balls. I am not comparing in any shape or form. It's just I got lucky where the flop house we hung out with in high school, up the street, grade school, in high school, up the street was like 5 doors up from me was, um, like the children of Deadheads, right? Uncle Donnie had a wall, an Uncle Donnie wall of Grateful Dead cassette tapes. Um, I mean, we all have various scars from getting caught touching it. A bunch of 16-year-olds who come down like, dude, where is my fucking Spectrum 83? And you're like, I don't know what you're talking about. He's like, dude, I saw you. And you're like, that's the other dude? Because we all look the same, we're all burned out, whatever. And he's like, but we didn't have beard yet. So it's just basically all to Donnie, that was Donnie saw, which is long hair and children. And he, dude, where's my Egypt 77? And you're like, so you just didn't touch it. No one did touch it except one of my friends. One of my friends fucking had a tape because there was times where you could guess. You're like, all right, Donnie's gonna be gone for 2 days. You could borrow a tape, listen to it, and get it back in time. I mean, it was doable. It wasn't. I mean, it wasn't under like laser fucking alligators and shit. But of course, whose friend borrowed the tape, didn't return it, when that was whether Donnie wanted to listen to it or not. Oh, you could just see it. You walk in, it's just all ones. It's just a temple of gray tapes. Ding, 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 ding. Hole, one hole. He just walks in. He's like, "Where the fuck is that tape?" And it was my friend had it. So it was, oh, there she is. What's up, girlfriend? She's sick of this. So yeah, so that was a travesty that ruined the fabric of a neighborhood. I'm not joking. We couldn't really like hang out there and shit. Uh, that is the power of the Grateful Dead, as everybody knows. And Uncle Donnie is, a complete sweetheart. Uh, he's not like he's scary. He's not a biker. Maybe he was. I don't know. But it was just, when you see respect, it's like something like that, you don't just go pissing on something like that, right? You can tell when something has that much attention to it. Before we even really started listening to it and even understanding what it was, when you walk in, you're like, wow, like why do we care about the Sphinx and the pyramids? That's intense shit. You don't really need to know the purpose. You're like, yeah, that's important. Yeah. The degree doesn't matter. That's important. That's Donnie's wall of Grateful Dead tapes. So growing up in that, we would just, I mean, how lucky could you get with that? If you're in there, you were allowed to listen, right? So if Donnie was there, Donnie, if you're coming down, not a power trip, you'd be like, what's up, dude? And then he would let you listen to one, and you'd be like, oh my god, you're like, you serious, dude? So you would just get high and listen to a whole Grateful Dead concert of soundboards. And like Donnie, he didn't have every concert, but he had pretty damn close, and he knew which ones to like let you. I did. We're gonna do this, and he'll give you like a little. He enjoyed showing us someone clearly. So yeah, thank you, Donnie, Uncle Donnie. Not my uncle, but he was everybody's. There was other ones that, other ones, but Uncle Donnie was, I think, the oldest, and he gained the most respect. He was great until my friend. Yeah. So either way, that's what I mean. That's what this is. Holy shit, you guys, you motherfuckers. That's what that is. I finally got, all right, dude, I'll give it to you. You got me back, finally. That was from 46. That's a long time. Right. Yeah. So since we were lucky enough to have that happen, right? And then I was one of the few that went to college, and not because I was smarter. It was like a pity kind of thing. It was called Act 101, something. It's basically like, hey, look, we'll take a couple messed up kids from your neighborhood, give them an extra shot at college. Mine didn't go well. It was a great time, but it probably failed on their part. So yeah, so imagine coming from that kind of neighborhood, Dining's wall of tapes. That was the house that most people after high school got high at, and you listen to tapes. From that, I went to college where I learned about Phish freshman year. Luck of the draw that these two dudes. I wasn't cool enough to know that stuff. You know what I mean? Like since it was that fresh and happening that on the scene. Like I didn't go to a lot of concerts in high school. Uh, like more like buddies that were in bands and shit, but not like you know what I'm saying. So to get ushered into a 2.5 hour concert on LSD as a freshman in college, I'm like, wow, holy Lord, that's why this many people are there. You know, I mean, that doesn't happen by accident. As great as they are, it's just culminations. That's a lot of stuff going on. Yeah, most likely just willingness. That's that's how it all seemed to me. It was mostly willingness, you know. So, all right, final 10 minutes here. So that is what I feel like, basically. Clear with a lot of wild ideas. They just all happen to be mine, or me reading theirs, whatever it is. So hopefully no one comes and locks me up and says like, "Yeah, dude, you're uh like you might be insane. We might have to lock you up after this one." But I don't think so. Hopefully I'm just having a good time with it. Because this is just the beginning. This is just them taking the pictures. In a month, I have to actually get the surgery. And then again, luckily, like I was saying before, how I ignored it, I just basically live like I'm never going to have a seizure again. So so as far as getting used to it, even though this was just pictures, like this was already my surgery. Like, oh yeah, look, I got my seizure taken care of. Oh, and I just have to go again and do something else. But I'm just thinking I'm never going to have one again. Only having 2 to 3 a year, except for recently was this last year was the worst. But again, COVID, I'm inside all the time. Who the hell knows? Stress. Also the drug change. So, shit's, again, scientists write stuff down and they're like, oh yeah, that's 3 times. They any good scientists, 3 times, you know, XYZ, blah blah blah. So if there's enough change, uh, they have their formulas, whatever. So the fact that this all happens, whatever the outcome from here on out is, I'll never forget having people play with my brain in live time. And the picture they told you if you watch the other video, when they give it to me, this they give you stories to read, and the story is a leprechaun. So they give me. You would like to think people thought about it before I brought it up, but whatever. So basically, give you this stack, and the first thing is just this big picture of a leprechaun on the top. I'm like, is that me? And then it's just like, dude, they all lost it because it was a pretty easy joke. So that was too much. Um, yes, reading the stuff and having them manipulate the real world. And I like my improv EDM. I play with guitar players and Ableton Pro, Ableton Live. So I love making samples, just so to have someone do that to your brain in the real world is wild, man. So whatever comes after this, that was worth it. So it feels religious. I mean, again, you can see how they make religion. Again, the bleed, whatever. Hit someone in the head hard enough, you'll get them to believe anything, right? So it was it was amazing. Now, hopefully from here, now there's been some casualties though. Personal, I mean, some people don't not like me anymore. And when when you just are an unabashed Irish Leprechaun to start with before you start having seizures, and then the seizures do things to your brain, and then the drugs do things to your brain, and you may or may not care about the outcome of the carnage of relationships because you're like, dude, you don't even know what the hell's going on, or how you can control it, or how you're being viewed, or how you're being perceived, especially when you're a wild, weird artist, dude. You don't know what the fuck people think of me. So I am a much better person from now on out. I don't care. It's I have to work at it. As simple as that. Now, what does that really mean? I have no idea. The only thing I know is we have to entertain these people on these screens. 75 inches of University of Penn money. I don't mean money, but I mean saying like this is some serious shit. They're not going to make it with just watching regular TV shows. So I'm taking all suggestions. 4 minutes. So thank you, everybody. I can't believe what that just was. I'm not going to start a religion. I mean, you can follow me. That's what it is. But you do. This is the best I've ever felt. And again, we're not going to blame it on the drugs. Clearly, that's a part of it. But it's oxycodone, not cotton. And I mean, it doesn't sound like it's much, and it doesn't hurt. But I mean, it doesn't hurt. Obviously, not because of drugs. I'm saying it doesn't hurt because there's nothing in your head anymore. So now it's just kind of like a normal little cut. I mean, the whole basically, I'm saying you're not feeling a cut on your brain, and the skull doesn't have any pain. So you're really just feeling the actual just a regular stitch. Uh, Now the mind, where I'm going to go after this for this next month, I have to keep active because I can't just think about this for a month. But the surgery coming up, I'm not going to be able to get a job. Uh, so I had to keep busy. So I guess if you guys want, if you have any any projects involving paper, let me know because I got plenty over there, and that's only a little bit. We got plenty of paper and a lot of space. And Jesus Christ, this will get me locked up. But hopefully, up until now, if you've been here this whole time, I doubt it. That I made some good points, and this is a wild, wild existence. And now, what happens if they do rid me of it? Right, like I said before, I don't know because all you do, you just ignore it. Like I've said, say they do the surgery and I think everything's fine. I'm like, oh, great. And then all of a sudden, 6 months into it, seizure. And you're like, wow, all right. So all you have is those 6 months up until that seizure. Like I was saying before, that dude that got the chunk, the hundreds and all, that thing in his head has just brought it down. He still has some, but it's reduced it from hundreds to like 20. I think 20 a year, maybe. No, I don't think that sounds like too much. But hundreds a year to double digits, less than 10. That is unbelievable. And he's a normal dude. Again, you talk to him. Again, slurred speech probably somewhere, but you wouldn't think he has hundreds of seizures because they're small, quick little ones, not some big ones that have way more damage for people. And they've had him since birth, and you meet him at 30, and um, they're hurting. Uh, there's terms for certain ones, but you know, uh, that's all a matter of degree. Like when you go in and someone is just like they're just never gonna have a normal life. I mean, they have facial distortions and they have to wear a helmet. I mean, what are you gonna do? I'm just an idiot. So I don't know how. Me not having work is different than them. So I'm gonna end on that. 5:30. All right, yeah. So pray. No, 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 not that word. But visualize. Yeah. Wow, get rid of that word. Where is it? Oh shit. I'm sorry. But for what people think that word means, for them, do it for them because it's wild. I enjoyed the playing and the brain. They probably don't. So thank you. I'm exhausted. I've had 4 hours of sleep in the last like 48 hours just because I'm up there all night, just staring into space. So yeah, I'm not going to bed though. And again, I don't know if I'm jammed up because I'm just so excited to be home. I don't know if I'm just jammed up because I'm tweaking out that I'm freaking out and scared. I don't know if I'm just super excited to be home and or again, or clarity. Like, there is things called third eyes and all that stuff. If you get your brain played with 14, so there's 14 holes, but it was like 600, I don't know how many things, but it wasn't only 15 things. Like each entry hole had like 10 or something. So it was a lot more nodes than the holes. So it was a lot of playing. It was like a 2.5 hour thing. And then, they induced some seizures where I'm like, oh, I'm getting really hot. And they're like, yeah, 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 yeah. Just like, wow. And they're watching it. So yeah, exactly. These people giving you seizures, controlling your seizures. It was wild, man. And just the fact, because, any other seizure, I go into the dark and I just wake up wherever. The fact that I'm there and just being like, oh my God. And again, they're just doing it enough to get the picture. They're not doing it, or they're sadistic. Maybe they're just having a good time on it. But you can see where Dr. Frankenstein came from. This is a pretty simple story now that you think about it. Uh, do not, do not, do not call me Frankenstein.